Now the farm I'm setting up on here is mainly a dairy farm, but it has this large shed which is full of young calves and young cattle in various stages, and they're fed quite a bit of meal, so this in turn attracts plenty of jackdaws and magpies. Now as you'll see, the far end of the shed has been blocked off with large straw bales, but this doesn't seem to deter the birds from coming in, as they can simply either fly over the top of the bales or drop through the hole in the ridge of the roof, which is left for ventilation. Now if the birds land in the feed ride where the meal is, I can't get a safe shot at them. There's just too many bars and cattle in the way. But they mainly land in the bars either above the cattle's pen or the rafters, where I can get a safe shot at them. And I'm using a 15 foot-pound .22 BSA Superten, so it's fairly safe up against the tin. Shooting at maximum range probably is about 35 yards. Range finding in the shed shouldn't be too much of a problem, as the H-iron uprights holding the roof up are set at roughly about 5-yard intervals. As you can see, I'm just using a simple pop-up hide to shoot from, and I'm using a straw coloured camouflage net to help it blend into the hay in the background there. It doesn't take too long to set up, but it does pay dividends to take a bit of time and make sure everything's right before you get into the hide. That way, when the birds start to arrive, you've got less fussing around and therefore less likely to spook them. Now there's something you have to remember here. This is a working farm, and the day just didn't go the way I hoped it would, because there was a lot of disturbances through the day with the farmer looking after the calves, feeding them, cleaning out pens and so forth. There's no point getting annoyed about it, because this is somebody's livelihood. You have to work around the farmer, not the other way around. But thankfully at this point, the milking had finished and the farmer was in getting his tea, and the birds were starting to take interest and coming in over the bales into the shed. But I wasn't quick enough for that one. But after a few minutes, a magpie dropped in through the slots in the roof and landed up in the rafters about 30 yards away. I got onto him with a rifle and went for a heart and lung shot. The bird dropped, but I couldn't see where he actually landed until the rest of the magpies started cackling and kicking up a stink, let's say, at the bottom end of the shed, so I knew his body was lying down there somewhere. These birds were over 40 yards away and a wee bit out of range, so I let them be at that time. It wasn't too long though before a jackdaw came into the shed and landed up in the rafters. I didn't want to go for a heart and lung shot because of the perspex behind him, so I went for the headshot as the beam gave a good backstop. One of the magpies came on into the shed and landed up in the rafters, and I waited for ages to get a clear shot by that blue water pipe, only to find that the pellet hit one of the bars in the gate just in front of me, totally missing the magpie. After a while, another jackdaw, again about 30 yards, and I took him with a nice clean heart shot. A couple of jackdaws and magpies, but they're slow coming in. Now, by this point, the farmer had finished his breakfast and moved into the shed to start the long work of feeding everything and cleaning out one of the pens just in front of me there. So I decided to head home for a couple of hours and let things settle down again. So once I'd got myself fed and watered, I decided to come back after a few hours, only to find that the farmer was doing a wee bit of an emergency repair to a machine in the little workshop to the right hand side of the screen. But the birds still seemed to be about. Whether they were going to come in and out of the shed or not, I don't know. But I wasn't doing anything else for the day, so decided to stay and see if I got any more opportunities. But as I feared, unfortunately, as soon as the birds came in and landed, they were able to see or hear the farmer working away in his workshop and quickly exited again without me getting an opportunity. But every now and again you got one that just stayed that little bit too long and paid the penalty. Like this magpie here, curiosity just got the better of him and I got him with a nice headshot. And these couple of jackdaws, I took the one on the right there with a shot to the heart and lungs. Then again, once the day started to close, the work started to begin again as it came up to milking time again. But as I said before, there's no point getting annoyed about it. This is the farmer's living and you just have to try and work your best around his time schedule. Since it was going to be dark probably in about an hour's time, I was unlikely the birds would settle down and come back into the shed again at this point, so I decided to call it quits and pick up what I'd shot. But when I made my way up to the far end of the shed where the birds were shot, I found it very difficult finding all the birds. I knew it was around here and there was even good evidence of feathers and that the birds had fell, but I couldn't find the bodies. That's until I turned the corner here and found that the half-grown cats that occupied this end of the shed had not only found the corpses but were tucking into them rightly. So I decided to let them have them, as I didn't think it would be worth getting my hand scrabbed to bits trying to take it off them. So at the end of the day I had 3 jackdaws and a couple of magpies, minus the 1 or 2 that the cats were now tucking away into.